Story 1. She went to visit a friend who lived on the other side of the country and never came home. It has been over 20 years, and I have not seen her in person since. She and that friend got married, had children, and are now divorced. Story 2. She cheated on me. She spent the last 5 to 6 months of our relationship always starting fights until I could not take it anymore and broke up with her. The following summer, her now ex-best friend contacted me and showed me all the texts from my ex telling her about a man she had met and was seeing behind my back. She was deliberately starting fights so that I would be the one to break up with her and she would not look like the bad person. Story 3. My oldest child's 15th birthday, my ex started hinting, then whispering, and then getting progressively louder and more demanding. He thought it would work best for him if, instead of the activities we had planned to do with my eldest, who was not his child, and all our combined children together, 6 kids, I could just give him the birthday money they had gotten from their paternal grandparents and he could buy drugs. Wouldn't that be fun? I refused. So I was trapped in the van with him, now hollering to just give him the money and to not make me do this. Finally, realizing I wasn't caving, he said, "Forget you. Let me out. I'm out of here." The kids were shell-shocked and crying. I was crying. He was outraged and screaming. I pulled over. After several years of his worsening drug use and my fears of losing access to my stepchildren, I had to lay it on the line. "If you get out now, I will not take you back. Ever. Walk away from us now, it's over." He stuck his hand out. "What? Do you want a high five?" "No. Give me the money." He screamed at me like I was the idiot, which I was just not that particular kind of idiot. I drove away. Then I had to try and salvage anything from this birthday for my oldest. I called the other children's mothers. But the hardest part was a week later, when he called me from a city 200 kilometers away, unsure of where he was, asking for a ride home. No. Then I was treated like I was the bad guy by the extended social group. It was brutal. Story 4. She cheated on me in our apartment and our shared bed. She told me multiple times that she never loved me. Our relationship had lasted 6 years, and I was going to propose in a few weeks. She ended up posting her nudes online and then said I did it. She did not know I was out of the country with no internet at the time they were posted, and the police said not to worry about it. She called the police twice, saying I had a gun and was going to shoot myself, hoping they would break in. But I calmly answered the door, spoke with them, and they left after about 2 minutes. That was just some of the chaos at the end of the relationship. There was more, and I had to go into hiding for a while too. Story 5. Okay, I don't think I can win this one, but how about this? After 10 years together, for with a child who has completely overwhelmed us, she has had about 3 burnouts where I was always there for her. Moving to her home city, this was not entirely her fault as it came with a job promotion, but it completely broke my social circle. Buying a house, which I was not very keen on because we were struggling to enjoy life at our parents' homes. Getting emotionally cheated on a year ago. She almost divorced me for having a crush on her colleague. Then, when she was rejected multiple times, she made me be her shoulder to cry on, complaining about how much of a gaslighter and maniac the guy was for not wanting to be intimate with her. She stopped working to get therapy and spent literally every day doing 4 to 5 hours of nothing, except maybe some household chores which we still ended up sharing, while I carried all our financial responsibilities alone. Buying all the wooden floors and the perfect kitchen she wanted. Moving into our house 10 months ago. She asked me for a break, then slowly rekindled things until we started cuddling again. She asked me for a divorce 2 months ago. In her defense, we were really unhappy, and even our sex life had almost become a dead bedroom situation. But I always thought we would power through the hardships of parenting and rebuild our relationship. We have been living together in our house for 2 months. She recently got a job but has not started working yet. She is now experiencing an emotional, maybe even physical, rebound. All this while I still have to see her every morning and every night. The worst part? I am destroyed and somehow still clinging to some ridiculous hope. I have begged her countless times to reconsider, as we were both very toxic to each other due to parental stress. I am not kidding when I say I have to go to therapy twice a week. It has been literal hell. Story 6. We were together for more than 6 years. He called me while I was driving and told me he wanted to end the relationship. I thought we would be getting married, as we had talked about it. He said he wanted to sleep with other people more and felt like he had missed out. Story 7. Cheated on by my first girlfriend. I was 14 and she was my first girlfriend. I called her to ask if she wanted to get pizza. A strange man answered the phone. Naive and in love, I thought it was her brother, whom I had never met and might be home from college. I said, "Hey, you must be Nate. How are you? Is Lisa home?" I heard her faintly ask, "Who is it?" "Nate," he responded. "Who is this?" I said my name, and I heard her in the background softly say, "Tell him I'm not here. He told me this." I said, "Okay, tell her I called." I hung up and thought it was strange, but being naive and in love, I thought nothing else of it. It wasn't until I went into the pizza place that the waitress, said, "You just missed Lisa." I said, "Oh, she must have come in to pick up pizza for her and Nate." She said, "Nate? Nate's not home. He and Brian, her son who was at the same college, are in Mexico with other kids from college. They all got a cheap spring break group package." I said, "But the guy who answered her phone wasn't her dad." Dee looked at me with a look I still remember and said, "Let me go put in your order. Just take a seat." She came over with a bunch of food boxed up and said, "Here you go. It's on the house." A week later, we were at the mall, and I confronted her in the food court. She started crying and trying to explain. I ended it with her. The last time I saw her, she was crying into a cup of frozen yogurt. Story 8. I ended things because I was very immature. We were 14 and 15 years old. I realized that he was actually a great partner, even at our age. I was gathering the courage to ask him out again when he was involved in a car accident and did not survive. He was truly the sweetest person ever. Heaven gained an archangel that day. Story 9. Checked the mail one day and saw a thick envelope from an attorney's office. The lettering was clear enough to read through the envelope, and I saw the word divorce on it. My wife had been secretly in a relationship with an old high school flame she met at a reunion. The only sign I had was when we went over bills a month earlier. She had listed expenses evenly, which we usually did based on our income differences. It was a bit curious how some expenses were broken out that way, but I thought nothing of it. Her main argument was that I wasn't part of her life. She had a large extended family she was always involved with, and there was an expectation that I would involve myself too. She was essentially a caretaker for many elderly relatives, and every other weekend was spent doing the same. She used up vacation time constantly, always laboring for them in some way. I don't know how or why she did it, but it drove me insane. At the time, I was on a bike team and had commitments that made it even harder. Some of her younger relatives convinced her she needed to divorce because they had all gotten divorced themselves. I struggled to cooperate on selling the house and managing finances we had gotten into, expecting to start our own family. The kicker was finding out from one of her relatives that she had been institutionalized a few years before I met her. Dodged a bullet. Story 10. I moved to be with him and he did not want any affection. We had sex about once a month. After 6 months, I asked him what he expected the relationship to be like. I ended the relationship myself. I have been married before, but he shattered my heart. Story 11. Broke up with me the night of a huge exam. She said she was struggling with mental health right now and did not want me to be close to her when she kills herself. When I texted her back, she did not respond for 5 days, and I was worried she had actually killed herself. Story 12. Asking me for a divorce 24 hours after promising he was not going anywhere for a long time because I had seen it coming, and he called me crazy for it. Story 13. He died the day we were going to get our marriage license. It is so much more hurtful than infidelity because you never get anything from them ever again. No fighting, no reconciling, just nothing, forever. Story 14. I had a partner end a 10-year relationship over the phone. The relationship was clearly running its course as she had taken a job in another city. We were going back and forth about what the plan was and whether I should move. She visited me, we had a nice time, Then she went home and called me to end it. I wish she had done it before flying home, but given how difficult it can be in person, I see why she decided not to. Still, it is a strange way for it to end after a decade by a phone call. Story 15. She asked me to leave the house and the children right before the holiday season. She sent me divorce papers days before Christmas. I did not get to see the children open the presents I got them. I miss my house and my children. Story 16. A Dear John letter. Please try to understand that we just cannot be together right now. Maybe someday. I really do love you. I always will. Story 17. Cut ties. She used to be the best friend I ever had. But I wasn't well back then and my overall behavior was terrible toward her. This was followed by 3 years of deep depression directly related to my regret over what happened. Story 18. I thought being cheated on was bad. When I had a heart attack, my now ex completely ignored me on my deathbed and started a relationship with another man. It was a terrible holiday season. Story 19. I found out when my Facebook relationship status changed. No explanation, disappeared, all communications blocked. I got played, used, cheated on, but for some reason that one stuck with me. Story 20. We were together for 7 years. He made me wait for a month because he needed time to think about our relationship. I waited alone without any explanations. He told a friend of ours that he didn't love me anymore and that he was disgusted by me. I asked him many times to tell me what was wrong, but he never told me himself. Later, I discovered that he had cheated on me. That was awful. Story 21. It was a 20-year friendship. My then 2-year-old had just had most of his tibia removed in surgery due to a bone tumor. I was silently upset because I had not heard from her or seen her before, during, or after the surgery. I knew she was going through a breakup and an identity crisis, so I tried to be understanding. 2 weeks after the surgery, I canceled going with her to a baby shower for a friend because my son was spitting at his stitches underneath his cast, and I wanted to take him to the doctor. It was not an emergency, but I explained that I did not feel comfortable leaving him and asking my husband to take him in. She yelled at me, said she was sick of my behavior, and never spoke to me again. It's been almost 2 years, and I finally do not think about her every day. Story 22. I had to end it and I did not want to. Neither did he. He basically made me break up with him again a couple of days after the first time. Story 23. He hit me. I knew right then and there it was over and I was not going back. He had been emotionally abusive and manipulative throughout the entire relationship. Him assaulting me was the wake-up call I needed. Second runner-up. He told me he had never stopped looking at dating sites during the 7 months we were exclusive. He said he was going to start dating a kindergarten teacher because it looked better than dating me, as I was still finishing my last year of college. Story 24. Psychosis episode. I had been dating him for a year, and we were very much in love. It was confronting because he had been hypomanic right before the episode, being super affectionate, sexual, and asking me to move in together. I was on a high, and then the episode hit. It was the first time in his life, and he was then diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I stayed with him during his recovery, but he broke up with me over the phone because I didn't do drugs. It was very confusing. I experienced panic attacks for a year afterward and wasn't sure what was real between us and what was hypomania. What is real and the self anyway? This caused me to spiral deeply and have an existential crisis. He reached out a year after the breakup, but I couldn't respond because I was so traumatized. I processed it as if I had watched the man I loved descend into madness and die, knowing I could never mentally go there again. It has been 4 years now. I had one failed 2-year relationship after that and still haven't really connected with anyone like I did with him, which makes me sad sometimes. Story 25. First day of school after the pandemic ended. That was really hard. Also, we were not together at the time but ghosting. She had literally planned to hang out, said she was going home after finishing work, and then did not communicate again. Story 26. I'm tired of talking about it, but if I don't, I'll never move on. We had problems for a while because he was close to his friend. His friend was also my friend. I never had a problem with any of his other female friendships. I always had a problem when she was around, and for good reason. He never advocated for me or did things for me. I always had to over-explain my worries to him. I always had to ask him to do the bare minimum. On a random Thursday, after 2.5 years, he texted me a breakup message. I drove to his apartment immediately. We both cried. He confused me. He said he was in love with me, which makes this harder. I asked him, "Do you want this?" He said, "I don't want this, but this is how it has to be." I left and collected all my things the next day. 1 week later, he told me he slept with the friend the night before we broke up. He told everyone but me, and a good friend said, "If you don't tell her, I will." The only reason he told me was because of that. He was planning on lying forever. He did everything through text. I still have to see both of them due to an organization we belong to. They won't make eye contact with me. Supposedly, they are seeing where things go. The friends said they were dating. This was all within the last 3 weeks. Story 27. My first real girlfriend kissed another boy in front of me, and our friends laughed about it and never spoke to me again. I was only 15, so it was all anyone at school talked about for weeks. Story 28. Wanted to maintain the relationship, but could never provide clarity about buying a house or having children. Story 29. Not letting go for months when it was obvious I should have. A perpetual cycle of hope and no hope. Also being dangled on a hook with tangible hope that there could be a future, when really she was just waiting until she could secure another relationship before releasing me. Hope is the worst thing in a dying relationship. From now on, when it seems over, it is over. No holding on, let go and move on. After stepping back, I can see how toxic she really was, and I blame myself as much as I blame her for holding on. I am better off, and I know it now. Story 30. He hadn't been treating me right for a very long time. He hurt me, disrespected me, and I became very unhappy. I told him this, but he never listened or communicated with me. One day, I had enough and told him I was ending the relationship, explaining why. I was crying because it wasn't an easy decision, but he had hurt me deeply and didn't care. After I poured my heart out, telling him why I was breaking up, he acted confused. The first thing he said was, "What are you talking about? What relationship?" I replied, "Our relationship. I'm not happy. I can't do this anymore. I think it's better to break up." He kept acting confused and then tried to gaslight me by saying, "We were never in a relationship. What are you talking about? We only spoke for a few months years ago, but that's it." He acted like he never knew me, pretending our relationship over those years never happened. He gaslighted me to try to convince me that we were never together. We had been in a committed relationship for 5 years, and he pretended he didn't know me or that the relationship never happened. The pain I experienced from him saying that is something I wouldn't wish on anyone. It has been very hard to heal from. Even after everything he did to hurt me, I never once pretended the relationship never happened because I would never be that cruel. Story 31. My fiancé cheated on me with his ex-girlfriend from high school. It was made especially worse by the fact that he spoke negatively about her and told me he had turned her away after she reached out to him. Story 32. I had to move for work. She was probably the best person I dated, even in such a short amount of time. But I couldn't find a job anywhere, and I was insecure. By the time I came to my senses, it was already a little too late to back out. I was laid off from that job less than a year later. Story 33. I am a male who let someone go. They saw me as husband material and changed their appearance for me, yet they never forgot about me 6 years later when we reconnected online last year. Story 34. Saying you deserve more and pushing you away. She has a chronic illness. She said she is holding me back and does not think it should keep progressing, no matter how happy and content I was with her. There was no reasoning with her. It hurt the most. Story 35. Not everyone or everything is as they seem. You seem quite young. I promise you that with some self-acceptance of who you are, you will get through this. Story 36. Broke up over FaceTime. She said she lost feelings and didn't give me a chance to work on anything. She convinced herself it wouldn't work after saying forever with me 3 days prior. Story 37. We had been in a situationship for 2 years, not because we did not want more, but because life kept getting in the way. I was struggling with mental health issues, and he was often far away due to COVID-19. Yet, no matter what, we always kept finding our way back to each other. Once things settled down, we decided to try a real relationship. He is avoidant. I have anxious attachment. I did not feel loved, and he did not feel good enough for my needs. He just needed space, a lot of it, and it made me feel small. I felt like I did not have a space in his life. But we loved each other deeply. That was undeniable. We just did not know how to show it. I had to tell him I did not feel loved, even though deep down I knew I was. He told me I deserved someone who could make me feel that way, but he just could not, even though he tried his best. He had been through a lot of trauma in his life. I asked if we could try harder, learn each other's love languages, and grow together. He said he could not bear the pain and did not want to risk suffering like that again. He thought he could never change, telling me he was just broken. He said he did not want me to settle for less and could not bear the thought that we would part ways one day. He did not want to get attached given our difficulties. He did not want the relationship to start because he was convinced it was going to end. He preferred saving himself from that pain. It has been 6 months, and I still think about him every day. I feel like if he had just loved himself enough, he would have let me love him. It all felt like a terrible dream, a La La Land situation. Story 38. Watching in real time as they slowly faded away and feeling the distance, all while holding on to a shred of hope, because when I brought it up, they would always sweep it under the rug. As someone who does not walk away, I understand. Story 39. I met her back in February 2020. The first time I met her, it felt like we had known each other for a long time. We went on a few dates, then COVID-19 happened. I had to return to my home country, but I was optimistic, thinking it would be only a couple of months before I could visit again. We continued texting and kept each other company by playing games together while the world was at a standstill. I fell deeply in love, and I was lucky because she fell in love too. By May, we entered into a relationship despite the bleak conditions of the COVID-19 pandemic. We were both hopeful that we would be reunited any day. From day one, it was a long-distance relationship. A year into it, the world was starting to recover, but we still could not travel to each other's countries due to border restrictions. She had resumed working normally and was starting her own business. I also kept myself busy with my own business. By November 2021, the borders were still closed. I woke up to her text asking if we could just be friends. I took it hard because, throughout the entire relationship, we never even got to see each other. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.